Distortion is going to be an eyeshadow palette that the founder, Wendy, is kind of going back to her original roots. She was mixing shades back in her home, and in 1995, she mixed black with raspberry, and she named that shade Urban Decay. Then in 1996, Urban Decay is when she actually brought it out to the market. So with Distortion, it's a way for kind of like how she was playing with the colors and transforming and creating her own shades. Now we have an option as the consumer or a makeup artist can actually take and do the same thing. This palette was sent to me from Urban Decay. I am under no terms and conditions to make a video, but I want to make a video because that's just actually what I like to do if I get PR, if I can make the video and get it up in time for you as the consumer, in case this is something that you're interested in purchasing or you're just interested in general. So wanted to definitely let you know about that. Look at that. Usually with packaging, it's not something that I go goo goo gaga over. But this, I keep just wanting to do this. It's just really, it's quite mesmerizing. For the cost of $49, I'm looking at the packaging and thinking in terms of an actual consumer going to purchase it for that price. I'm looking at the container. It's well made. It's not cardboard. It's not flimsy. You can kind of see the shadows kind of, buried deep within that purple in the back. But other than that, it's pretty sturdy. It's semi-heavy. I mean, it's not where I'm like, oh, this is going to weigh down my bag. But I mean, you do kind of feel some sort of weight there. Comes with a mirror in case you need that to do your makeup, to see up close. And then you have your shadows right here. 15 eyeshadows. The first top row are the transformer shadows. So these are the shadows in which they're going to change the appearance of the shadows. The enclosure card inside of the box states to layer the shadows in the top row over any of the other shades and watch them instantly transform into shifty multi-dimensional hues. With 10 shades, 9 are new, and 5 transformer hues, you'll never run out of options. We can't wait to see what you create. All of the shades down here, these are new. So they're new to the brand, new to the collection, except for the black, which is blackout. The transformer shades on the top row, I feel that those swatch fine. They all have a natural like white undertone base to them, so they swatch out fine on the arm, and they also apply on the lid fine. The rest of the shades here, the finish that I feel dominates is a pearlized finish. When I'm looking at a shadow that is a pearlized finish, it's not like a true metallic shade where you will literally see like it's liquid gold, liquid bronze. A pearlized shade almost is like creeping like down to almost a satin finish, but it's not quite there. So it's right underneath the metallic, but it's smooth, but it has a slight reflective quality to it, just slight, which actually is good because when you're adding these dual tone shadows on the top of it, you can then kind of increase the light if you want to think of it like that. And then the more you put on top, the more the light starts to get a little bit more reflective. And you have Old Smoke right here, which is what I would consider a satin finish. So it's a satin where it shares two properties of an eyeshadow base. It has like a matte underlying texture, but then it also has a little bit of shimmer to it. But on the eyelid, and depending on how you build it up, it still comes off, to me, I feel it has more of a matte look. So again, dominating properties of pearlized, one matte and then one satin, and of course the shifter shades. Also, as I'm dipping my brush into each eyeshadow, some shadows are picking up a lot more kicking up more than others. And they're also kind of moving into different real estate areas, is what I like to call it. So for example, Hot Box, I had some of the Hot Box was in my blackout, but just, kind of just blowing it right off, gets it off. This first row here, these two shadows, I feel not only do those swatch on the arm, they also apply on the eyelid exactly the same. They go on smooth, and then there's pigment. This is the row that I feel that you have to start to build up. When you first dip your brush in and you start to put it on your eyelid, you're not going to get that boom, intense color. It is something that you're going to need to build up. Now down here, again, I just want to mention that old gray, and I'm mentioning this, is it old gray? Oh, old smoke. Again, I want to mention it because, you know, they do look like true to life in the pan, but when you're putting these on, until you actually see the texture of them and how the finish is on the eye, they look a little bit different. So again, this one is definitely a lot more sheer. And then these pinks and these purples right here, those needed to build up as well, so they're not as opaque as I would have liked. I say as I would have liked because even though I build up my eyeshadow in colors, I still want that pigment, especially on my eyelid because of my skin tone color. With the exception of Velvet, Velvet went on boom, just like these two shades as well. So there was quite a bit of a punch. The dual tone shadows in the Distortion palette, what they remind me of is like a loose pigment. But instead of a loose pigment being like in a small jar, you have it in a pan, you have it actually in a palette. And it's the way they look on the eyes. Because of how they apply smooth. I don't even have to apply any glitter glue. Like I usually use glitter glue, well actually not usually, every time I use metallic especially, I use glitter glue. So that way they're not transferring into my crease because I have hooded eyes. But with these shadows, the dual tone shadows, I didn't have to use glitter glue at all. I actually didn't even wet the brush. They just went on smooth. Here, at least you have the control of it in a pan, and you just, you know, pick it up with your brush and you apply it onto your lid or into your crease, and it just goes. It goes where you want it to go. For today's eye look, I actually did this eye look based on when I got the palette, I opened it up in front of a friend and I said, okay, look at this and tell me what are the shades that immediately you're drawn to. And she looked at it and she said, what am I going to do with Blackout and Old Smoke? So I said, okay, those are the two shades that I'm going to make sure that I wear, because I'm just thinking if she, as the consumer, is looking at this and thinks those two shades are frightening to her, then that's something that I want to translate and make sure I talk to you about in case you're like her. Out of all 5 of the dual tone shades, the 2 that I personally like the best, because I felt that they create that mermaid fishtail look. That's just something I immediately thought of when I was swatching them, is Shifty and Space. So the blue and the green. And I knew it was something that I wanted to wear together. So again, that's just the fun with this palette, is you're going to be able to play. There's not going to be any rules. There's no rules anyway. Well, there's some rules. You can decide whether or not you want to break it. That's what I say. I applied Urban Decay's Primer Potion. That's just a eye primer I use quite often. And then I used this contour shade because it has a neutral undertone to it. And this is ABH's Fawn. So I applied this not only to set my eye primer because I have oily eyelids, but again, it acts as that neutral light brown, which is kind of that base that I want underneath. Next, I'm going into Blackout, and I want to carve out a wing because I knew I wasn't going to wear eyeliner. I wanted you to really see the eyeshadow. Now here's where I take the flat brush and I stamp Blackout where I want first. So I stamp and shape it out first, pull it a little bit up into my crease, and once it's kind of shaped the way I want, I'll blend out some of the edges, not all, because I still want it to look a little bit strong. Here's where you can do what you like. If you don't want the black to be a strong punch, then start really blending it out, you know, to get rid of a lot of that depth. But I really wanted it to stay semi-strong. Next, I go in with Old Smoke, and with Old Smoke, what I'm going to do is use that as my inner lid color, but also the color that I pull up into the crease. And space is where I put on the inner lid because I want to use the green, which has specks of yellow in it. I want that to be on top of the blue. So I pull in space first and I go up a little bit higher because, again, with my eyes open because they're hooded, I have to go up just a little bit more. Then I take Shifty and apply that on top of space, and then I'm blending it out. And the two colors are morphing into, again, that like mermaid fishtail color. I think it's so pretty. And with the green on top of the blue, you can see the yellow specks, and that's what I wanted, that little bit of yellow, because I'm going to actually use just a highlighter, a gold highlighter champagne, as my tear duct color. Now, I could have used the yellow dual tone shade in the palette for my inner eye highlight, but I just wanted something a little bit more softer, but still would look like it was like laid flat, nothing really metallic. Eyeshadow from Kiko Makeup by Milano. This is in the shade 208. I keep hearing how so many people use this as a highlighter. So this is what I used as my tear duct shade, and I really like it. It's like a champagne gold here. I mean, I think it would look beautiful too on the eyelid, but I just used it as the tear duct, and it lays down perfect. And then I also used it as my highlighter for today. For my waterline, I just used like a bronze liner for my waterline, put on mascara, and then I put on mascara for the top lashes, and I didn't put on any lashes. I just want you to see the shades and how they're shifting, and I think it's beautiful, and it blended fine. Everything, it was fine. I like it. Are you the customer for the Distortion palette? Let's talk about that. You are a makeup collector. You're someone that you're already, a diehard Urban Decay fan. Every time they pull out something, you're there. You want to buy it no matter what. This is going to appeal to you. The fact that you're getting eyeshadows that are not in other collections, not sold as individual, with the exception of Blackout, that's going to maybe appeal to you as well. If you are a customer where you like these shades that transform other eyeshadows, let's say you don't have another palette that does that. I believe that there's a few already on the market. If you want those shadows and you have these shapeshifters that are the greens, the golds, the blues, the pinks, the lavenders, so you have a lot of options. This is a palette where you can play. That's what it was designed for. So you're taking and you're, playing around and seeing what you can do that might be different. Something that maybe will pull you out of your element. If you're used to a certain type of makeup look for your eyes, this can kind of get you out of that style. You are someone that you don't have time to play. You just want to kind of go in and open your palette and do your eye look. You want to make sure that there's different textures within that palette that's going to complete your overall eye look. This isn't going to be a palette for you. You're not going to open this up and have your transition shade, your crease shades, your metallic shades. This isn't that palette for you. If you're someone that has no time, you're in a rush, or you're that type of an individual, like basically you don't want to play. You just don't want to do that. Again, you want to open the palette and get to work and get on with your life. This isn't going to be the palette for you. Is this a product that I myself would have gone out and purchased? Meaning I did not receive this from the brand. No, it is not something I would have picked up on my own. And here's the reason why. I don't use shadows that are specifically geared to shapeshift. Here we go again. Shapeshift, transform, morph, whatever word I want to find. I don't use shadows like that. I look at the color and I kind of go like that. Or I mix colors together, sort of like what Wendy was doing, and coming up with something different. That's like how I morph and transform stuff. Or I mix different finishes. I don't specifically go towards a dual tone shadow and say, oh, let's transform it. This is something that I'm going to leave now on my desk where I do my makeup, because I'm going to incorporate these dual tone shadows in with other shades and other palettes as I start to do my makeup, because I liked how they looked on the eye. Again, it gives me that reflective properties, like I'm working with a glitter, but I don't have to go rifling and finding a glitter or even like a glitter liner. I can just use these, and it looks beautiful on the eye, and I'm curious to see what other looks that I can create. So for me, I feel that this is just a palette that is going to need to work with conjunction with all other eyeshadows, whether it's singles or eyeshadow palettes. It's something in here that's going to work and play with other products. I hope that helps. I really do. I hope that helps. But just again, my overall thoughts, how I personally feel, and how I'm going to continue to use it in my everyday routine. Distortion launches on December 3rd, $49 USD. It will launch at Sephora and Ulta, and of course on their websites as well. And of course, Urban Decay stores, if you have a flagship store near you, and on urbandecay.com. If you do have further questions, concerns, anything, leave them down in the comments and I would be more than happy to answer them for you. Again, I am here to help you. Thank you very much for stopping by and watching, spending some time with me. I do appreciate that. Please remember to like the video if it helped you, and subscribe on your way out. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.